This giant palace-looking building was present in one of the previous establishing shots from the earlier episodes, nice, as well as this weird ominous tower and big rock.
Get back in your homes!
Unalaq? It's a cool touch that this solid ice rises from the snow-covered ground, and then when it moves to the side, the ground is bare. But like, is there really enough water here to make these huge ice slabs? Actually, in that same establishing shot, you can see the city rises onto this hill here too, and that's even captured in this shot. Really nice attention to detail. We see the giant ship Unalaq arrived on, as well as Varric's boat here too.
Now that you've opened the southern portal, we need to protect it from people who would do the spirits harm.
I can protect it.
I need you for something more important. There is another portal. In the north.
I do kind of like the idea that, oh, the water tribes are set up at the poles, the absolute furthest they could be from each other, because there used to be this crazy instantaneous movement option for them that made them much more connected than you would think. However, this line of thinking doesn't really hold up at all, since the spirit portals have been closed for 9,999 years, and the show definitely implies the water tribes were not a thing before that. I know what you're thinking. Wasn't Appa the last sky bison, as far as we knew? And yes, you're right. What the lore is that Aang just, like, found some pretty quickly following the war.
Good morning, universe!
Boomie, please, cover yourself.
Boomie takes after Aang.
What? I'm wearing trunks.
Reminds me of all those great vacations we took as kids with Dad.
I think your memory's a little foggy. Boomie and I weren't on those great vacations.
Oh, here we go. Yeah, I'll get into it in a second.
Janora, were you and Milo teasing your sister again?
I don't know. Maybe. She ran away.
Honestly, I don't know why you kids can't just get along!
Haha, it's a parallel. Tenzin's kids fucking hate each other's guts, and Aang's kids also want to tear each other apart. And also, this episode is called Civil Wars, not just because of the Civil War, but because of the... You get it? Unalaq, as chief, you know, I hate to harp on it, but shouldn't you live down in the city so it's easier to talk to you? There's this giant, I assume, unused palace right here. I know you're a humble guy, but like, it's a lot of cardio getting up here.
My point is, Unalaq's already booted our chieftains out of their palace.
Wait, what did you just say? So wait, so we're still operating on a multiple chieftain system? The comics would have me believe that Hakoda was elected the first chief of the entire South Pole after the war. So I assumed that Unalaq had just taken that position. But Unalaq has always lived up here. He didn't get kicked out anywhere. There's more chieftains? And before the comic shit, I always thought there was only one chieftain anyway, because all I knew about the South Pole was this tiny village.
Not to mention, I've got a cargo ship full of halibut that's rotting thanks to this harbor lockdown.
Just halibut? I know there are normal bears and dogs and lots of others, but just hearing halibut sounds funny.
Who wants to buy a ship full of stinking fish? Seriously, it's not rhetorical. I need to sell these fish.
Once again, despite not being a huge fan of Varric myself, sometimes a character gets a good line and the voice actor kills it.
If Unalaq doesn't pull his forces out, then we have no choice but to fight for our freedom!
You want to start a war?
Are you animated in yet a third way?
Look, we all know where this conflict is heading. We need to start preparing for war.
You see, I don't even really mind Varric so much in these first handful of episodes. Sure, he's weird and cartoonish and eccentric, but he also has these moments where he's kind of weird and serious, which makes him interesting, and I like where his story actually goes, but later, we'll get into it. They put flames on the cart so it will go faster. So smart. You know, from doing these videos, and especially the ones on the comics, I've learned that there's a great big group of people that think Antarctica is just a giant block of ice and snow that has no land. But it is like a continent, and like, yeah, this is a magical world, it's not ours, but it's definitely analogous to it. It's just every time I see something like this, it reminds me.
You know, I'll be really sad when you have to leave. It's been really great getting to know you. Really.
But you will be coming with me to the north.
Okay, since this is Civil Wars Part 1, it's doing a lot of setup, so am I. We'll talk about Bolin's weird relationship stuff and honestly his entire role in the show in Civil Wars Part 2.
Don't make me! Oh, please don't make me.
Hey, if you're that unhappy, just break up with her.
Break up with her? You could do that?
Yeah. Guys do it all the time.
You know, for as shit as Mako is at relationships and everything, I mean, he's right? What's the point in making yourself feel miserable for longer over something you know isn't working? Like, yeah, he delivers it pretty nonchalant and coldly, but I think the messaging is right.
Thanks, Mako. Whew. I'm lucky you're so good at breaking girls' hearts. Korra better watch out.
All right, good one, Bolin. And also, like, weird foreshadowing. So Unalaq has literally just hijacked the palace?
Our next training session isn't until tomorrow.
Sorry to interrupt.
Interrupt what? He's sitting here, ominously, in the dark. How do you not know this guy is evil? Look at him. And like, I'm not even joking. It's kind of frustrating watching this with how obviously evil the show is portraying him. And seeing Korra just be blind to it all. Like with something like Hama, at least she was portrayed as a sweet old lady like 50% of the time and then creepy the rest of it.
A lot of Southerners feel like their tribe is being invaded.
I am their chief.
You are?
If the water tribes were at war, the other nations would take sides. The dark spirits would thrive off this negative energy, and the world would be thrown into a battle between spirits and man.
Really? Why didn't that happen last time with the 100-Year War? Just because it wasn't a war between the two water tribes? Is this just like a bold-faced lie? Heibai seemed to be at best neutral until the Fire Nation came along and made it his problem. I don't think the spirits care, man.
I'm usually the one starting fights. I don't know how to stop them from happening.
Wow, that doesn't just sum up what this entire season should probably be about, but isn't.
I have no doubt you will become the most admired avatar the world has ever known.
And it's like more of the stuff where you feel like Korra should be better at this stuff by now. Like she just continues to be mind-crushed by politicians and seats of power, and it's not like Korra ever learned how to deal with it, I know. But it feels kind of redundant having the wool be pulled over her eyes at the start of the season and blindly trusting someone and discounting her other mentors, when that's exactly what she did last season and got burned for it. Hey, this is great though. This is the exact kind of tension that Season 1's conflict was lacking. This energy that things really are bad on like a street and everyday person level. This is great. This is exactly what I was bitching about there being none of.
Everyone calm down. You're all part of the same tribe. Start acting like it.
You're taking their side?
So this is a bit of a running theme in the first few episodes. Of course, you remember Korra being mad at Mako for trying to fence sit her problems. And now Korra, after Unalaq just completely brain demolishes her.
As the Avatar, you must remain neutral in this conflict. You will naturally want to help your people, but showing favoritism will not help our tribes find unity.
Feels she has to be neutral on this much more serious conflict, which of course the Southerners are not going to be happy about. And Korra should honestly know that's some bullshit. Her job description is to keep balance in the world, and that doesn't mean to be neutral in all conflicts. Imagine if Aang got out of the iceberg and he was like, oh well, the monks told me I had to be neutral, so no fighting the Fire Nation. No, obviously, part of keeping the balance is laying the hammer down when someone gets out of line.
Walk away from this. They're not worth our trouble. Go back to your homes.
You got it, one of the chiefs, I guess. Do you think it's really awkward now that both groups turned and walked the same way down the street?
Iki, where are you?
Over here, Dad. Just kidding. It's me.
Hey, Boomie, I know you're like a big jokester and stuff. You got all of Dad's whimsy, but like, my daughter's missing, so can you not?
Dad loved us all equally. Besides, it all happened a long time ago. Why are we even talking about this?
Because you seem to have some grandiose delusion that we had a perfect, happy-go-lucky childhood. Guess what? We didn't.
Alright, the Aang was a bad father debacle. It's one of the many points that people are still really up in a huff about still to this day. I will once again preach a long, exasperated sigh. What I gathered from this talk is that Aang was a busy father and he tunnel visioned on Tenzin too hard. Yes, I think everyone can agree on that. I think everyone can also agree that Aang was the Avatar, thus busy, and Tenzin was the only other airbender there was, so there was a call to be tunnel visioned on. And yes, that would leave his other kids to be understandably jaded or even bitter with that aspect of their upbringing. I think that's totally fair. But we don't have enough information to call Aang a bad father. We don't know what their day-to-day was. We see in moments that Kai and Boomie still love their dad and miss him. I think we can definitely conclude that Aang wasn't a perfect father, and I think that's fine. No one's a perfect father, and the logic behind Aang's shortcomings as a dad make perfect sense. My tiredness stems from the two camps that act like Aang was a horrible, terrible dad based off of just these things, and the people that think Aang not being a perfect father is some sort of character assassination. But you know, it's the internet. A lot of the time it's got to be 100% one way or 100% the other way, but to me it's obvious neither are true. Aang, back when he was a kid in his show, was a deep, multifaceted, complex character, and I assume that would continue into his adulthood. Aang was human. He was more than just one thing.
How was your day, sweetie?
Yeah.
My tribe's about to go to war, and I'm supposed to stop it, but will anyone listen to me? No. And I didn't ask for my father's help.
Can't he just let me be the Avatar?
I'm sorry. My dad just gets me all worked up.
Why? Why? You went to Unalaq and he was the one that was totally unresponsive to you de-escalating the situation. You had a scene where your dad kept the peace and helped you out, and then you just bailed. Shouldn't you be frustrated with the Unalaq? He's the one not listening right now. I get that he tells you everything you want to hear outside of the conflict. You're awesome. You'll be remembered as one of the greatest avatars. But this just makes it feel like Korra doesn't have a fucking brain in her head. Like, no matter what, I'm mad at Dad, and no matter what, Unalaq is freaking epic.
We never get to spend enough time together, just the 5 of us. So fun.
Excuse us while we retrieve more sustenance.
You guys look like you're the only ones with sustenance.
What happened to ripping off the leech?
I tried, but anytime I bring up the subject, she threatens to freeze me in a block of ice and feed me to dolphin piranhas.
It is a very weird line to take, that there's this giant civil war brewing, tensions are high, Korra's very stressed, to just have this side story about Bolin being in this unhealthy relationship that's being played so much for laughs. Like, yeah, okay, I get it. You can't have your Nickelodeon show just be a political thriller where everyone's pouting all the time. Sure, you need some comedic energy, but it's kind kind of tonally jarring. And yes, next episode, the Bolin talk. And Sokka, too. A lot of Sokka in that talk.
Fighting our way through blizzards, sandstorms, and 3 typhoons.
Oh, I can't believe this. Not Boomie's thing.
And single-handedly carried them down the mountain to safety.
And how exactly is that supposed to help us find Iki?
Right?
Come on.
No, follow me. This'll get us down 50 times faster.
Boomie is a little too far in the cartoony, childish camp for a man his age too, but he doesn't have the weird, mysterious edge that Varric gets to benefit from right now, so I mostly just find him annoying. Like, I don't know anyone that's like, oh, Boomie, I love Boomie. Because, like, come on, just fucking get out of here. I'm sick of you.
Fine.
Slow falling down a waterfall with waterbending is cool. Finally, a good movement addition. It can't be used all the time and seems to make perfect sense. Awesome, gold star. This part where Kaya seems to surf down to the ground on a stream of water, don't know about that, but whatever, it's a blink and you miss it.
You were right, Boomie. That was faster.
At least 50 times faster, by my calculations.
Fucking got him. I'm here for all digs at Boomie. Keep him coming.
Ah, I don't need your help. I've got everything under control. Ah!
Oh, I take that last point back, actually. Boomie was a really good guy.
I found out Dad's been lying to me my whole life. Unalaq told me everything. How Dad and Tenzin kept me trapped down here while I trained. How Dad got banished from the north.
So Korra's anger is well-founded enough. She's pissed her whole life hasn't gone the way she thinks it should have. Fine, understandable. I agree with her, in fact, it's fucked up. I'd be mad too, but I think where the disconnect comes for a lot of people in Korra's thinking is how immature it is, and her lack of tact in handling the political situation. Yes, it's unfair that these things were chosen for you, but if the only thing you ever wanted to be was the Avatar, this is exactly your chance. Your entire mindset is based off of things that happened in your past and is actively keeping you from actually being the Avatar right now. If you want to be the Avatar, do it, but you're not because you're upset with your dad and Unalaq is telling you everything you want to hear. If you deserve to even be the Avatar, shouldn't you be a big enough person to put your own shit aside and step up, a lot like Aang did? And I know what you're thinking, this is the start of the season, surely she'll learn these lessons. And she does in a way, but we gotta wait to get to that, that's a whole other mess. Anyway, there are magnitudes to what's going on, and your personal shit kind of pales in comparison, man. See ya, Korra's mom, hope you liked your biggest scene in the show ever.
Uncle! No. Uncle?
Anyone else feel weird about anyone calling anyone in this universe uncle if it's not Iroh? I don't know, it just hits the ear weird.
Dad?
Yeah, dude, yeah, Korra, that's your dad. You can tell. Cool move, that was a good idea. Great job, this guy. This banister becomes not icy anymore in the next shot, but also, did you really need to ice it up? This might be the weirdest fight in both shows put together. For some reason, Korra's first thought of incapacitating these guys is to run around and throw a blanket on them. I know it's like a tapestry from the wall, relax. But like, what's going on? I get she doesn't want to hurt them and make the vibe around town even worse, but like, huh? You're the Avatar, you're a master of 3 elements, and honestly not so bad with the 4th one. There's gotta be faster and honestly probably still non-violent ways to incapacitate these guys, right? I guess it's cool in my head that she can do stuff other than bending and she's quick thinking, but this just seems kind of goofy for the political abduction that's currently happening.
Dad? Dad, don't do this. Dad! Stop! Why did you do this, Dad?
Okay, man, I get it. You think he's your dad because he's a big dude. You don't have to say dad every line. Gasp! Holy shit, these are some gnarly spears.
Find Varric. I want him to freeze in prison with the rest of these traitors.
You can't just lock them away.
What? Yes, he can. He's the chief, apparently, and they made an attempt on his safety at the very least, maybe his life.
You want them to go free?
No, but let them stand trial for what they did.
Saying they should stand trial is more in line with what I would expect the Avatar to preach, but man, you're so flippy-floppy and volatile, I can't get a read on you. Like, would Korra feel at all out of character in the scene if she said the exact opposite thing? Like she just flippantly said, yeah, throw him in jail or execute him or whatever. I don't think that would feel weird, and that's probably a bad thing.
You're still trying to prove you can do everything a bender can. Well, you can't. Deal with it.
Holy, Amon, equalize her ass. Also, this is something. Remote water healing? You got the vibe it was definitely some physical touch thing in Airbender, and even in season 1 of Korra. Yagoda does some shit without touching this dummy in Airbender, but once again, it's a little weird. Like, is this dummy the exact same thing? Anyway, what does this mean? Can you water heal from just as far away as you can bend? Can I heal you from, like, across the room?
You think you're the responsible one? Where were you after Dad died and Mom was all alone? Because I was the only one who packed up and moved my whole life to be with her.
Oh, word? Where were you in season 1? Honestly, for all the negative, annoying stuff surrounding Korra this episode, I actually do like the Tenzin and Sibling story a pretty decent little bit. It characterizes Boomie and Kaya very strongly, even though I don't really like Boomie. And we get some more interesting insight into Tenzin. I think these characters bouncing off of each other is pretty interesting, considering who they are to each other and Aang. The whole story doesn't really conclude until next episode, but I like it. We'll talk more about it next time, just like 10 other things I said that about in this episode. Whoa, weird CGI door. Korra's like, nah, that dude was way more jacked than you. I don't know what I was thinking.
We weren't expecting you.
Tonrock, Senna, you are under arrest and will stand trial.
Trial? For what?
For conspiring to assassinate me.
You've been had, dumbass. Ooh, okay, Civil Wars Part 1. Man, Korra is a mess in this one. Like, it becomes so hard to grasp her thinking at some points, and maybe if Unalaq wasn't written and designed to be the most obvious villain from the moment you see him, it'd be different, but the average viewer watching it will be like, why is Korra acting like an idiot? Why is she acting so childishly when she has the chance to step up and be the avatar she wants to be? I get that she's being pulled in 2 different directions, but the viewer loses any level of suspending disbelief when Unalaq is drawn evil and voiced evil and is literally invading the South. It's hard to reckon with it when Korra can't just screw her fucking head on straight and just do the job she's always wanted to do in the first place. Outside of Korra, the character, I think the episode is pretty good, weirdly. I like Tenzin and his siblings arguing. I like the feel of unrest in the South. I think that one scene was a great addition. I like the idea of the conflict that's brewing between North and South based on spirituality and obviously some ulterior motives Unalaq has that we don't know yet, which makes him seem more interesting. I even like that Varric has set up a rebellion. Everything's pretty great other than Korra. Korra's thinking and attitude are nearly incomprehensible, and because of that, it drags the episode down. Patreon shoutouts if you want to see 2 brand new videos from me. You can support me on Patreon for just a few bucks. Link, as always, is in the description below the video. Biggest shoutouts of all go to my top patrons. A. Werner, who can beat you at tic-tac-toe when you're allowed to have 2 turns in a row. Der 50 Kobold, who was the only kid on their block to have a Michelin star at their lemonade stand. Ian Byrne, who threw a football at the start of a marathon and then caught it at the end. Leferk 13, who was the one that's keeping vacuum decay from happening, so you know, thanks for making reality possible. Potato Scream, who has to duel a shadow version of themselves on their birthday every year. Winner gets to be the person for the year. Starfish Hugger, who found the end of pi, ends after 600 trillion places or so, and also ominously the word run at the very end. Stephanie Riches, who through a shamanic ritual she learned, can raise the dead as long as that one LMFAO song is playing. The former meaning of life, who has a 5-foot wasp killing energy field around them at all times. The 1 AM party, who trained a parrot to solve 50-year-old cold cases by leaving on old film noirs in the living room all day. Thomas Lautenbach, who stopped a gorilla from going on a crazed rampage by playing a nostalgic sounding harmonica tune. And Whitrow, who can speak to fish, but only when they're angry, and it turns out they're always angry, they're always just screaming internally. And of course, my other Fuck You Money patrons, Aurora, Balmir Candle, Gene Cree, Omega Fighter, Sean Martin, Tater of Tots, Tiago Nascimento, and That Blind Ginger. And my God Overanalyzers, 2 Boots Are Beat, Aang, Alan Garvin, Andrew Watchett, Blacksmeme, Bob Deff, Chandler Crump, Kobe Smith, Connor Gallery, Dead Rat Fiasco, Deathly Healer, Dizzy Pain, Dr. Xerox, Dominic Saint, Donut, Emma on Emma, Aaron Grace, Gianluca Leandro Magi, I'm a Match, Jada Jones, Jackson, Jeremy Rubenstein, John Ajaka, Justin Scott, Kelly, Mac D, Mackie and Eligio, Mark Rethy, Medium D Speaks, Michael Fallon, Mighty Virus, Mystery Ghost, Nick, Nicholas Abbott, Reese, Rocket Mist, Ryan Gregorikos, Ryan Maxwell, Samuel Vanderplatz, Sergeant Carrot 69, Shane Antonacci, John Flowers, Spicy Ketchup, Super Snipper, The Long and Short of It, Thomas Graff, Victoria the Queen, and some sort of bear face, I don't know. Next up, War 2.